Hi, marketing girlies. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Girly by Sky Society. It's another solo episode, and our topic today is red flags on your resume. So, I feel like I've done solos on a lot of portfolio stuff recently, but I wanted to take some time to talk about resumes today because I feel like I see so many of you girls share your resumes in the Sky Society Marketing Girly LinkedIn group. I see questions all the time on TikTok. So I wanted to address specifically red flags on resumes and some mistakes you might be making that you don't know are mistakes and could be turning recruiters off. I am very passionate about this subject. I think sometimes we just rely on a resume that we got a template from in school and we sent around to our friends or our parents, and there are some different things that are really, really important to have in your resume, especially if you're applying to marketing jobs. So I wanted to dive in on that today. Before we jump in, just a couple little updates that Sky Society wanted to share with you. We are officially 2 months in our Austin office. So if you follow us on Instagram, you've likely been seeing our Monday office updates that we share every Monday with what's going on around the office. And we're 2 months into the office, which is so crazy. Furnishing this place and getting this up to like usage is really been a huge undertaking. If you've seen our office, then you know it's a historic home here in Austin. So it's this beautiful home, and it also has a pool, which is insane to have an office that also has a pool, and it has a second story. It's just like a massive house, basically. So we've been turning it into an office, and it's been such a fun project. We had our office housewarming over the weekend where we had everybody on the team kind of brought some friends and we had a little pool party, which was incredible. So, yeah, it marks 2 months at the Austin office. And then I think by the time this episode is coming out, admissions will be wrapping up. So we are currently in an admissions season for Sky Society Accelerator. We only do admissions for the accelerator a few times a year. So whenever it's admission season, it is all hands on deck at Sky Society. Every single person on the team is working on accelerator admissions. The accelerator is the main thing we do at Sky Society. So it's just been so much fun getting to meet you girls. If you've attended a group admissions call and I've gotten to see you, I love doing the group admission calls. It's so fun, get to see and put faces to the names of girls that are in our community. So that's what we've been busy on at Sky Society. So back to our topic today on resumes. So let's go through, I'm going to go through 8 red flags that I see a lot of times on resumes, and we'll talk through each one. So the first is no numbers. Your resume does not have metrics for each of your work experiences. So your goal should be for every single work experience that you have on your resume, it has 2 to 3 quantifiable metrics. And you don't want to write out the number, you want to use the actual digit number. So when a recruiter is looking at your resume, they should be able to see over a dozen numbers on your resume throughout all of your work experiences. This is something that I know a lot of my entry-level girlies struggle with because you are feeling like you don't have a ton of real experience yet. So I want to challenge you to think of other things you can quantify if you can't yet quantify a result. You can think about how many times a week did you post on social media? You can think about how many people attended events that you threw. You can think about how many, or you can think about your keyword difficulty for SEO content or the number of people that an email was sent out to. So trying to add as many numbers as possible is going to be a huge game changer for you for your resume because a lot of creatives don't have a lot of metrics. And so by having metrics, you are able to stand out. So that's my first red flag is when I look at a resume and I don't see numbers. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, doesn't matter what your role is. We want numbers. All right. The second, and this is a huge mistake I see all the time, is that your bullet points aren't specific enough and they don't really make sense. They sound really fancy, but they don't usually accurately describe what you've done. So my challenge to you is to make your bullet points more specific and to make sure they don't overlap. Usually when I'm reading bullets, the two biggest mistakes I see is that they like multiple bullets kind of describe the same thing. They're just like vague and kind of overlapping. And then the other thing is I read a bullet and I'm like, okay, I see a lot of keywords in here, but what exactly have you done? A really good test is to have somebody that doesn't know a ton about you or your positions look at your resume and you ask them, okay, read the bullet points I put here. Now describe to me what I did in this role. because we're biased when we're writing our own bullet points because we understand specifically what we've done and how we did it, but it might not really be translated over exactly the same when somebody completely new who doesn't understand you is reading your bullet points. So make sure your bullet points are specific. Make sure that they are not overlapping with each other. Each bullet point should be a different responsibility. Each bullet point should start with an action verb, and each bullet point should take the full line on your resume. This is maybe a red flag 2.5 is that each bullet point should only be one line. Your bullet point should not be 2, 3, 4 lines. Okay. This will get me to another red flag we'll get to later. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but sticking to this initial red flag because there's lots I could go through. Bullets aren't specific enough. Make sure they're clear. They accurately describe what you do. And if you had a friend, hey, can you read this description I put on my resume for this work experience? Can you recite back to me what I did? If they can explain it to you in layman's terms and you've known you've done a good job. All right, red flag number 3 are gaps in your resume. So recruiters are looking at the date ranges that you have for each of your positions, and they're looking at how long that you've been there and any gaps that you have. So a red flag for recruiters is if you've been at a position for less than 2 years. I remember talking to a recruiter and they were working for a really, really big company that we all know. And they said that this company will not hire people that have been at a company for less than 2 years because they want loyalty. They want people that have been at a company for a while. Now, don't worry, this does not count for your internships. And usually companies are quite forgiving for like your first job out of college. But if you have multiple positions that have ended in under 2 years, if they've ended under 1 year, that's even a bigger red flag. So just know that that is something that recruiters are looking at. They're looking at how long you've been at each position and what were the gaps in your resume. So did you have like a 1 year gap between position? Did you have like a 6-month gap? What they're looking for is that you've been at positions for a long time and that you don't have gaps in your resume. There's nothing you can really do if you have gaps or if you've been at positions for less than a year or two. You do not want to lie on your resume, but just know that it might be something that you want to preemptively overcome in your About Me section on your resume and emails you're sending to recruiters, or just making sure that you are communicating that in your interviews because it is something that they're looking for. They want to make sure that you have that type of consistency. So just to be aware of it, and it's good to know what our weaknesses are versus just trying to ignore them. So, and if you're early in your career, that's a good thing to work towards, is making sure that you kind of build that strong work experience for yourself. All right, going on to red flag number 4. Inconsistencies with your resume, your application, and your LinkedIn. When I see somebody, they submit their resume and it says that they ended this, excuse me, they ended this position 2 months ago, but then on their LinkedIn, it says they currently work there. I don't know which one's not true. And I don't like saying inconsistencies because it's red flags, because another way to phrase an inconsistency is a lie. All right. So make sure that the dates, the titles that you have for your work experiences on your LinkedIn are the same on your resume, that you are keeping both of them up to date always. And if you are applying to positions and applications and they're having you list your dates and such, those all need to be consistent. Wherever your application materials are, all of your dates and work experiences should be consistent. Otherwise, it is a red flag signaling that you might be lying. This is a very easy one to fix, but oh my gosh, do I see this happen all the time? And it's really frustrating for me because I'm just like, I don't know if you're trying to lie or I don't know what's true here. So I see it all the time. So go double check your LinkedIn, your resume, make sure everything is up to date. The dates are correct because you do not want to get caught with any of these inconsistencies. Okay, going on to probably one of the red flags that could actually immediately cause a rejection for you when you submit your resume is that you have spelling errors. It is a proven statistic that spelling errors are one of the top reasons why recruiters will automatically deny somebody for a position. So you need to make sure you have no spelling errors. In this day and age, you could go give your resume to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to look at it for any errors. You could have friends read it. There is no excuse here. And on the spelling, I also want to talk about formatting because oftentimes when you download your resume as a PDF to submit it to a job application, formatting gets wonky and it gets moved around. So make sure that your formatting looks really good, not just on the doc that you're working and editing on, but that it looks really good once you download it and you open up that PDF and everything looks good. Having spelling or grammar errors or formatting errors shows that you are not detail oriented. So a lot of these red flags that I'm saying, you might be like, oh, I just made a mistake. It's a spelling error. Well, they don't know anything about you to understand who you are as a whole. So they're going to take that spelling error mistake and say, oh, well, she's not detail oriented. She is messy. So you just want to make sure that everything is spelled correctly. I am a terrible speller. Okay. So you make spelling mistakes. You're not alone. I'm also a terrible speller. Just know that that's why we have amazing tools that we could use at our disposal. That's why you've got friends. Send it to them, have them check for these errors. All right, this brings me to my next red flag, which is that your resume is not easy to read. I see all types of resume formatting, and not all resume formatting is created equal. And I want a resume that's easy to skim so I can easily consume everything that you've done quickly. When I'm looking at a resume and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. I don't know where my eyes to go. Like these sentences are really small. The bullets aren't even. Like the bullets are like 3 sentences long. Like, oh my gosh, I don't understand what this girl did. You want to make sure that somebody can look at your resume and instantly, within 7 seconds, because that's the average amount of time a recruiter spends looking at your resume, they can understand 80% about you. Okay, they can easily skim it. Usually the advice I give is that's why you want your bullet points. Like imagine that they're only reading the first like 5 words of each bullet point. They might not understand fully what you've done, but can they get a good gist for what you have done? And is your resume really easy to read, easy to skim? Okay, I promise you, most of these recruiters and hiring managers are not reading every word on your resume. And you're reading every word trying to make sure it sounds perfectly, but what they're actually doing is skimming it. And so I want you to make sure that your resume is very easy to skim and that they can really, instantly understand who you are. Okay. Go on to the next resume red flag, which is that the keywords in your resume do not match the jobs that you're applying to. Oftentimes, there's multiple ways to say or explain a task or a project or work experience, and you want to make sure that the way that you are explaining your work experience on your resume matches how companies are talking about that in their job descriptions. So when you are writing your social media experience, for example, go look at the jobs you're applying to and see what keywords they're using, how they're talking about socials. What are the keywords that they're using? Do they want to see specific platforms that you've used? But you want to make sure that the keywords that you use to describe your work experience match the keywords that companies are using to describe that responsibility, because it's not always the same. All right, let's go to another really common resume red flag, which is that you did not rename the resume file when submitting. So you go to download your resume. This is like the 100th job that you've applied to. So when you go to submit that resume, it says that the downloaded file says resume Megan 68 because that's your 68th version of that resume. You want to be renaming your resume every single time to have the first and last name so that a recruiter can easily know that it's your resume. I've gotten this as a tip from other recruiters who say it makes their life so much easier when they're downloading their resumes. It also makes you look more detail oriented because you thought about the little things down to renaming the file of your resume before you submit it. It's the little details that matter. So that brings me to 8 resume red flags. I'm going to add one extra one just in case I haven't said it enough times on this podcast, that there is no reason that your resume should be more than 1 page. All right. And going back to my red flag about checking the resume formatting when you download it, a lot of times when you download your resume, sometimes it'll turn into 2 pages just because the formatting messes up. So please make sure your resume is only 1 page. There is no reason it should be 2 pages. The only reason is if you are 10 years into your career and you genuinely have that much to say. But even then, your resume most likely should be 1 page. All right, marketing girlies. Lots of red flags for you to consider, to think about. Hopefully this is a bit actionable for you to go through and think about some edits and changes that you want to make to your resume. I love doing these solo episodes, so I will be back again soon with another solo episode on a specific topic like this one for my marketing girlies. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. And I will see you back next week with an incredible guest. And until then, enjoy the rest of your lovely week. And I hope to see you in our Marketing Girly LinkedIn group or hopefully in a Sky Society Accelerator admission season.